happens. That happens. I think how this works now is that like a lot of you guys missed the intro, and I think everyone missed the intro except for me. I thought it was great. I really enjoy that song, and yeah, it's you got to hit like 3 buttons now. I used to, this is what happens, right? This is what happens. Hello, everyone. Where are you, Joe? Hello, everyone. Welcome to Friday, August 16th, 2024. Those of you who were following the Heifer Agenda, it is the 12th of Av, 5784. And some of you will know we got 216 years left. I'll see you soon. You know what to do. You know what you're doing. Some of you have decided that I'm a Freemason, and for those of you that have, I need you to call me by my proper name, which is Grandmaster. It's actually Freighter Grandmaster Marshal True. And I don't actually have a degree because I work in the subversion unit. And yeah, so good to see everybody. I'm looking forward to giving you the show today. I've got some really annoying buzz that I'm trying not to show you how crazy it's making me feel in my head. But otherwise, really excited about this. Alex is in the house. Good to see you. We got Zerlith. We got Richard Ibsen. Good to see you, my friend. Trevor's there. Oman, Jason, Rena, Amanda, big old heart. Donnie J. Great question. I really hope I get to this. Maybe I should just get to it. What makes someone want to be able to regurgitate well? Especially in Catholics and Orthodox. What makes someone want to hold a huge umbrella like John the Baptist? And does the belief that you hold a huge umbrella create contagion? And I think these are wonderful thoughts to have. I'm hesitant to answer because I don't like being known for here's the answer to things. I'm a fan of mystery. I want you to understand that the purpose is to find mystery. I think that you learn more when you let go of what you insisted was true, and you sink back into the Epsom salt of all that could be. This is the most powerful place to be, is in mystery. And so I want to meet you there. I do not want to hear you expound about how perfectly right you are, and to utilize the comparison of that who is wrong as some kind of parabola dish for it. The math, it's a limiting economy. It's not an economy of abundance, and that's what I think. So there's really the main answer. And then if I tell you what I think now, you're just gonna forget that because that's in the middle. See, I'm going to tell you something. I need to say it right away, and I need to say it last. Everything in the middle, most of us are on the consciousness level where we don't even eat that part of the sandwich. We don't even remember that part of the sandwich. Keep in mind that an engram is an imprint. It's like you stuck that penny in that machine, and it's sunken in. And, sure, you have a design now of what happened, but you no longer know what year that penny is. You no longer know if it's a wheat penny. You don't know. You don't know. And so you lose that history. Now we've built a world of psychotics that are insisting there's a thing called objective reality, and they themselves can't even show you in the brain where what just happened is recorded. They can't do that. We actually know where the footprint is, but we realize that the footprint itself is a stamp, and that the hallucination is how we decompress what happened to you. This is not a poetic nonsense, even though it's quite beautiful, if I must say myself. It is scientifically the most accurate model for what we do and how we feel it. I presented this idea at Astronosis 3, a wonderful time, a fabulous party of psychic mosh pits. That were quite beautiful. Snorted a lot of gnosis up my gnosis, and it was a really good time. super congratulations to the crew at Astronosis. Miguel, you did a fantastic job. I discussed the inner workings of my stay there in more detail at the last airship, and I actually go over a good bit of the slides to cover a little bit about reality. And but this is not that show. That show is you'll see on Patreon, and you should join me there. Excuse me, I'm still trying to track down this. That's what it sounds like. Just that's what it sounds like. It is. Oh, it's rough, but I'm really glad to see you. A little bump there if you missed the intro. Oh man, I was almost like, should I just like restart the intro? I didn't even know what to do, you know. But maybe you didn't even miss it. Who knows what's going on? Who knows? Who knows? Missed 4 minutes. Yep. We're getting an awesome stream title. Thank you very much. I wrote a article for Substack today, and it inspired this title. The title, if you do not know, is False Target Clowns. And I actually assigned this as homework to all of you before you watch the show. If you didn't read the show notes, you fail. You're going to have to come back after school, bang some erasers. And yeah, it's going to be a little Jay Giles sort of thing. You know, that's too deep. You're not going to have enough oxygen for me to even explain. It's not worth it. We need like tanks, like, you know, equal pressure tanks, sort of like, you know, set up along the way to get there. And you know, even me explaining the dive plan for this is already out of hand. So we'll just move on. The concept I want to talk to you about today is this false target clowns. And it's a kind of a broad topic, but I have done my best to wrap it up with stick figures and express it in a way that is edible, nutritious, and full of vitamin C. Ascorbic acid, my friends. That's right, ladies and gentlemen. Today's show has been brought to you by ascorbic acid, my favorite acid in the world. The color orange, as you may know, was invented as a vibrational push to get you to elevate yourself, which is why the entire concept of a color in a fruit is amalgamated into one shape. This shape is a genetic fruit that was made 50,000 years ago from the company called Amazon, probably. I don't know the name of the company. It's not important. That's not important what the name of the company was. What's important is that a long time ago, people like you and me said, what can we make to leave on this planet that will be planted in the soil that will survive 26,000 years around a giant aeration of the soil, and be able to survive through that kind of winter and wake itself up, much like you and I do every morning, that even the morning call of night and day is teaching us how to bury ourselves and rise again, because we are fucking seeds. We're the living soil, we're the living seed. You are a husk of God, and you sprout forth through your cracks and emanate your own light through the power of your own fantasy. And you live in a culture where fantasy has been shamed, and so we call this fantasy lies. Lies, that's right. And they have a tinge, and none of us do it. All of us insist it doesn't happen. And if this place were honest, we would print all of our laws upside down just so you could have the proper context for what's going on. So let's do it, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to James True Live. If you have not hit subscribe, what the fuck is wrong with you, you retard? Hit that thumbs up. I want you to go in the show comments. I want you to click on that Substack link and read your frickin' homework and hit pause, because you will find it important as we go on. All right, here we go. I think, let's see if this works. We're going to go to present. That is not how I present. Oh, that is wrong. That is so wrong. That's wrong. Let's see if we can fix this. I'm going to go to display capture. Wacom. There we go. There's my friend. Hello. Hello there. There we go. And then we, how do I do this next? We, is that it? So I'm sorry guys, I should be more prepared, but I've been busy. I've been busy. Look at that, Joshua. We've been putting some fuel in the airship. I appreciate it. You know I do. All right, so there we go. So that's going to work there, and then we're going to go left, and we're going to go this way, and then I should be able to go this way, but it's got this weird ghosting. I do not know why that's doing that, but hey, we're going to go for it. All right. I have condensed the article because some of you are retards and you don't read, and you're just like, oh, I don't read. It's too hard. And so I've created this video for you and used the technology around me to create something better. And I'm fine. I don't mind the medium. The medium's fun. You know, hey, if you don't want to read, don't fucking read. You know, if you want to take a suppository through video instead of just inserting the finest words that have ever been crafted right on your tongue, that's fine. This is the suppository of James True Life. I'm sticking this up your butt because you do not want to taste the delicious, delicious flavor of my words, my friends. So I encourage you again to go to Substack and subscribe. In fact, if you were to go there and actually hit subscribe, I think it would really help because I think other people could find my words. There's a lot of angst out there that needs my tender voice because I'm giving them some chiropractic adjustments that, quite frankly, are going to make your life better. So do it for you. Don't do it for me. Do it for you. Your environment will be better if more people listen to me. I know, but doesn't this prove the world's insane? Doesn't it kind of prove the world's insane where we're like, fuck, we actually need James True. We actually need that fucknut. We actually need him. We need him, right? It's pretty great. The old mine, I love it. He's like, dude, do both, oral and up the boot. That is great. This is the basically the essence of tentacle porn, but I am getting way off topic now. Let's just do that. All right. So, what are we talking about? First, let me just real quick pull up my notes because I want to make sure that I've got the right thing on the page. You know, I have to have it up in two places, but yeah, that's the wrong one. Where's the right one? Give me a sec, guys. Sorry. Where's that? Man, that's scary that's the wrong one. That is scary. Ugh. I'm actually kind of confused right now. Sorry. Kind of confused over why I don't see what I'm supposed to see. I built this whole thing over 269 instead of 8. Okay, I know what I did. That's all right. I still know where we are. We're good. I already told you about an honest society would print all of its laws upside down for clarification. That's not even a joke. It would be really cool because the laws of nature and the laws of society, although there's a lot of congruency, there really is a lot that really contradicts itself. The laws of society is a hypothetical. The laws of nature are an entitlement. The laws of nature come from the compressionary survival reverence that comes simply for surviving over time. Do you understand? And this is how your cerebellum works too. Your brain itself bequeaths royalty to the fast twitch muscle that responds the most predictably to what the brain wants. And over time, that royalty gets established into the cerebellum. And when I call it royalty because there's no longer a neurological free market system that's taking place in the cerebellum to do something as seriously complex as hurling a stone at a moving target while you're on a horse, and the horse is on a strange kind of Tom Sawyer raft, and that Tom Sawyer raft is having a Y rotation of like -3 Euler Y angles, every second. And then that is going down the current of the mighty Mississippi. And there's like racial undertones because the N word is like common, nomenclature, and actually people like it. It's not even like a problem. And so all of these fields are competing, and that your cerebellum does not have enough time to create a new vector process each time. It's just insane to do that. So you break down a lot of your tasks and just send them directly to your video card, and your cerebellum breaks down a lot of the brain tasks and then just sends them directly to the muscle. And so As we understand what we think of as laws, what we're really looking at is petrified repetition that's been proven over time as a utilitarian value. God, that's a icky way of saying it, so I'll just move on. If you didn't get my point, you didn't get my point. Another important thing that it's kind of a sidebar, but I need you to understand going forward, because I'm going to be talking about this a lot, so I just want to go ahead and start saturating into your head. Welcome to James Drew, by the way. Is that silicon and silicone are the same thing. Silicon is sort of like the brittle metalloid, or the metal that we call silicon, and the silicone would be the amalgamated rubberized version of that, the softened, pliable version of that. And I'm telling you this because I want you to understand that silicone is a metal itself. It itself is a metallic. And I know you've heard me talk about how all of our memories that we have are stored on silicon, and that computers are light creatures that just store witness. That's all they do. And that the witness they store is the witness that we give them to store. And this process we call computers, but really it's just an organic pumice of silicon, a metal in the earth that we imbue or do not imbue with a certain pattern of light. And that pattern of light we recognize as an archetype, and we're able to decompress that archetype into an hallucination. So we are freebasing silicone on a daily basis. There is a push to hate plastics. There is a push to insinuate that the government is using plastics to poison you. There is a push that every single thing about plastic is the evilest thing that's ever been invented, and that plastics will never deteriorate, and that they come from the sacred oil of an innocent brontosaurus who never did anyone wrong, and that all of those things are bullshit. The earth itself secretes the medicine, the liquid medicine that you need based on the time frame and the capabilities that you have as the living soil. This is not a coincidence, nor is it possible to work in any other way. You began your journey up the hermetic ladder of metals, starting with lead. And you found lead, and you found it shiny, and the Quetzalcoatl, the shimmering of that lead, caused certain neurons that have been asleep for 30,000 times 1,000 times question mark years, and that they're awakened from the cerebellum like an ancient fucking Egyptian tomb. Lead is the first step on this hermetic ladder of metal. And as you taste lead, you start to learn how poisonous and dirty lead can be. And that just like you take venom from the snake and wrap that snake around a pole and go into a desert and get desert hemorrhoids and lead a bunch of Jews on a wild 40-year journey where all you guys are doing is insisting that you take the medicine of the venom of the snake, you began your process up this hermetic ladder of acid into lead and into these higher metals, and every single metal taught you something about how to survive underneath the tongue of the flavor of digested ancient understanding. Metal has a special property in the world, and we only learned this recently as we started to unwrap the principles of light. We discovered that metal itself is the only specular true color in the world. The only thing that is truly reflective. And from silicon to silicone, from lead until tin, into the Bronze Age, into the Copper Age, into the Brass Age, where we're playing with the combination of all of those things, We have raised our capabilities not only to understand the world, but to go out and conquer it and to kill it. Because to put the magic of a foreign land in your belly is to understand it. And that you gain gnosis the same way every other creature does. You open your mouth and you say, I wonder what the fuck's going to happen to me if I swallow this. This kind of acquisitional wisdom has been ingrained in every single creature, and with the exception of a few self-hating eunuch vegans, everyone understands how this works. It's a joke. Vegans, I want you to know that I see you on the cross, and I'm only persecuting you because I know this is exactly what makes you feel alive. And I think it's fucking awesome. Seriously. Trismus is to your left. Christmas is to your right. There's Hermes in the middle. Hermes in the middle for the win. Ugh. So, you rise up through these metals and you gain this kind of consciousness. And the cost of that is your kids die. They get weird ass fucking diseases. You get weird ass fucking diseases. You struggle. You struggle. You're riding the alkaline train now, baby. And that alkaline train is going to lead you through a lot of different places. That greenish mold that you see on lead, it's not really quite green, it's almost lead, is you where you failed to transmute mold into lichen, right? That mold itself is a failed kind of lichen. And that what you want is to become that bushy lichen on the rock. And the only way you can get there is through this descent into hell that we call mold. And that the metal is teaching you these things, rung by rung, step by step, inch by inch. Now, the key to silicone is that you're wearing it all over your body. The clothing, the synthetic clothing that we have is imbued with metal. And we call this technology plastic. Not only do we eat plastic, we wear plastic. The rubber that you use to drive your car, some of you are like, which car? And I'm like, I hear you, man, but I haven't worn a rubber in a long time. Anyway, the rubber in your tire has metal in it. But what makes it rubbery is metal. If you think about it, the rubber has been imbued with the wisdom of being flexible. This is the oldest worship in the Mayan culture, is this rubber that they found on trees. The wisdom of that ability to absorb and bounce back, the wisdom of that kind of technology was our earliest form of digestible rubber that we could get close to without freaking out, without killing each other, without creating a scarcity economy around it, and it still happened. It still happened. I predict that once we start to compassionate more history in a broad-minded antiquarian fashion, we will discover that a long time ago when someone looked at gold, all they saw was like really shimmering white, sort of like the top of the ocean. And you have like 20 times the oxygen molecules under the water as you do above the water, and that change is just a giant separator between two capacitors. And when you start to look at what your body's actually doing, you're just playing in the circuit between Jacob's ladder, between that place, the ground itself, the ultimate dissolving agent of water is here to say, I will accept everything you give me. The worst kinds of criminals you can put in my ocean. I will drink every sin. I will lap up every horror. And I will place it at the very bottom of Sheol, where the wisest and oldest creatures come down to the depths to drink. It's a bar, isn't it? It's a bar. And some of the oldest, most ancient, let's call them Toothians under the sea, swim down with the technology of ancient ballast built into their own skin, simply to drink from the salt that rests at the bottom of the sea. You and I push those memories. You and I are gravity collapsing in a quantum of all our possibilities. We need gravity because we want to see every one of our dreams come to fruition. And if we didn't have gravity, we would never be able to clean the sandcastle or clean the sandbox or actually watch what happens to the things we make. It's a wonderful tool, living in time, being trapped on a temporal flypaper, hurled through the desert of New Mexico, strapped to the broken antenna of a Cadillac convertible, wondering, where the fuck am I going? How did I get here? That's right, baby. It's mystery. I would want to ruin that. I'm not ruining your mystery by telling you what's going on. I actually fucking know what's going to happen to each of you. I got an email. I was told. I'm not going to tell you that. I'm not going to ruin that for you. I trust you. So don't forget, okay? So let's get into fear. Fear is a melanin of the third kind, all right? You've got eumelanin, viomelanin, and neuromelanin. And today we're only going to talk about the neuromelanin. This is the neuromelanin in the darkest crevices of your brain. Your spinal column has these two black towers running up alongside of it. And inside of there you have your neuromelanin. This is the blackest of black. The deepest of color, or the deepest of lack of color, depends on how you perceive what the fuck's going on, right? And inside this neuromelanin, we see these effects. I'm not even reaching here. These kind of effects I think are self-evident when we start to look at like Parkinson's disease. But at the heart of your ability to lie is this kind of melanin, the neuromelanin. And so it infects your brain, and it's able to absorb all of the reactions that would come from you thinking in a certain specific way. It allows you to do that. So neuromelanin is almost like neuromelanin is a kind of reality paste. And every experience you have, you get to mix with a certain amount of neuromelanin. And the result of that is the absorption of something that happened that you do not have to taste. You do not have to taste. Now, your entire body, my entire body, is made up of DMT and DMT inhibitors. And so you could look at neuromelanin as anti-DMT. You could consider that the entire purpose of lying is the ability to shade yourself from your own psychotic abandonment. When I say abandonment, I don't mean this in a negative way. Put yourself on camera, James. This is important. I do not mean that in a negative way. The essence of who you are is a hydrophobic layer separating you from the rest of the environment. And deep within you is this quest to reunite with the liquid consciousness. To unite with the plasma of it all is to oxygenate yourself to such a purity that you lose all phobia. Your hydrophobic layer is removed because you've lost your fear of no longer being separated. You see, if you consider that you have a fear of being associated in the world, you have a fear of returning to God. You were given a blastocyst that was separate from the world, and the foxhole alliance that was made from the 16 of you, probably most of your medulla, I think it's called medulla, this sort of like a raspberry beret kind of shape you are in a blastocyst. You're looking kind of cute, by the way. And this module, of 16 separate cells sort of developed a kind of trauma bond with each other and became the Elohim. And the Elohim said, hey, baby, it's good. And good was declared. You said, let there be light, bitch. And you did it. You know how you did it? You slammed 2 sodium crystals together. You poured sodium from your mom and you slammed them together and you took your pen and you wrote, I am. Then you looked at it and you said, what the fuck does that mean? And then you spent the rest of the time trying to figure out what the fuck you wrote the second you got here. That's what you're doing. And you call that your ancient text, and you hallucinate these ancient texts throughout history. And as I tell you that when you go back through the timeline of what you think is real, it actually turns into mythology. This is why we find Troy by looking in our mythology. That's why when I tell you that when we discover that the true nature of Athena is the Gorgon herself, and then if you pull open that dress, she's probably got a little pokey penis down there, because the hermaphrodite would be the only thing that you would be able to archetypally picture to go back to this initial state. The blastocyst is a hermaphroditic image brewed from the chimeric frickin' Capricornish goat milk that you call home. And this is the Baphomet in a hot tub. Yeah, a hot tub of mama's juice with daddy's beer. And you guys, they mess around. They do the thing. And now you got a Baphomet that you call you. Then you spend the rest of your life going, I don't want to fucking be a Baphomet. I don't want to be a Capricorn chimera. Then you raise your children and tell them the lie that chimera is only happens in cats, and it's only when one eye is a different color, and you're not a chimera. And really, there's a good chance that your liver doesn't even have the same DNA signature as you do. It's true. It's true. It's true. I'm not making this up. I'm not. So, where are we? I want you to understand that not all animals lie. This kind of fear is a kind of lie. So first of all, I'm not saying that all fear is like lie, but I need you to understand that lie is a very creative process, and that we use lies to throttle, maintain, create, warp, pace, insinuate, and instruct our fear to create a universe that we find palatable. Some of you are crazy. Let's admit it, right? You're fucking nuts. And the reason why you're nuts is because you have an appetite for a much deeper flavor of reality than a lot of other people do. And you are trying to be the Oliver Twist and not say, please, sir, I would like some more, because the gruel is not cutting it for you. You're looking for a sweet potato. You're looking for an onion. You're not even asking for much. You're really not. You're not. And you're not asking because you're selfish. You're asking because you're asphyxiating. You do not have enough consciousness. And so you yourself will even use fear to paint your own blocks because you need to fucking survive. You will find what it takes. If you're in a prison, you will start working out. You will start getting yourself high. If you are a teenager with angst in a wilderness program, you will go behind a shed and press on each other's chests until one of you passes out, because it's fucking fun. I do not condone this. I'm just telling you, this is what we fucking do. If we don't want to go crazy, we got to do shit like this. We'll steal. We'll break the law. We'll go over the line. We'll play with everything that we can, as long as it gives us the right volume. We're volume eaters more than we are anything else. We eat the texture of volume, and that volume, it requires a conscious experience. If you think about what happens when you eat, you're having a conscious experience with your limbic taste buds, and that you feel fulfilled. So the rest of the time you could be starving, not food-wise, but consciously wise. Your consciousness is starving. And to make up for it, we as a culture apply more and more sweetener, more and more zestier, more and more savior, more and more saltier, because that really is the closest we can get, but still miss to our conscious appetite. It's true. And so we develop other things. We develop other dramas. We try and fill our void because we don't want to drown. It's not because we're crazy. There are certain animals that have neuromelanin in a complex bichambered. The cells themselves have these dual chambers that give them almost an identical, exact similarity, some say, to humans themselves. And I am speculating, as James True, that this truly is the heart of your ability to lie, because I've noticed that demons cannot lie. It's like, oh God, now he's going to have to explain this, but it's true. I'm going to have to explain this. The reason why I think a demon cannot lie, most demons cannot lie, and I've confirmed this with Jerry Marzinski, who's written a book about this with prison inmates. Jerry does not like the fact that I'm saying that demons don't lie, because Jerry comes from the culture where lying means that you're morally wrong. And so anyone that's morally wrong and, a demon's, gets a bad name right now. Everyone's like, oh, demons are morally wrong. And so therefore he says they have to lie. So when I tell him what I'm trying to tell you, he misses that. The guy's brilliant, but he misses that. And you may miss it too. I don't know. But here we go. In order for you to lie, you're going to have to actually have empathy. It's true. Because the person you're lying to, you are attempting to deceive. And the only way you can deceive them is by placing yourself inside of their limbic system, even though it's a simulation that you built for them, and determine why you would even need to lie in the first place. Secondly, you as someone who is lying would now need to keep two timelines active at the same time. The current timeline of things that are actually happening, and a thread, the fork in the road when you told the lie, because every single piece of data after you've told the lie ends up having to create its own timeline, and the demon would have to keep track of that. I've just told you that the demon's going to need some sort of storage system to keep all this extra material, and that storage system is going to require salt. It just is. They're going to need to store this information somewhere in salt. But demons are very much an aerial phenomenon. They're an existence that exists outside the realm of salt or potassium. It doesn't mean they're not real, but it means that they are lightweight. Birds are real. Birds do not have a large and small intestine. Okay? One of you is like, oh, they do. If they do, I didn't know. Just go with it, okay? Just go with it. Birds have certain things that we don't. Why is that? Because they don't need that. The owl's eyes, one of the most complex things in the world, larger than your eye, as large as your eyes and mine, do not have the ability to look left and right. You're like, that's not true. No, it is. It's true. Why? Because they can't afford the weight of the muscles. They can't afford the weight of that. More importantly, having the ability to move your eyes would be giving you the contextual consciousness of having separate, multiple perspectives. And that the reason why you can actually move your eyes around is because you were able to simulate multiple perspectives at the same time. And you use this to formulate an attack pattern for you to interact with all these different creatures that you find in the world, man included. And so you start to see a complexity that requires a large amount of salt, which is why we eat so much meat. I'm not saying meat's the only way, but we think that we need all that from the meat because it turns out that Homo sapiens sapien is just a giant tumor that turned into another tumor, and that entire tumor on top of a tumor is doing nothing but remembering multiple timelines, using salt as its ink, and writing what it wants to hide using melanin as its form of lying. This is the space between the notes, and it's just as important because when you decompress those engrams, the space between the things left out cause your decompressive hallucination to go a different way. This is brilliant shit. I'm sorry, but no one else is going to say it. What I'm telling you is exactly what is happening inside your mind. This is how reality is carved. It is carved by you like the thinnest of roast beef. and that you yourself are in charge of that knife. You create the neuromelanin signatures. The shape of the conch shell is the same technology as the peacock leaf, that when you see the iridescent colors of the peacock, you are actually seeing the hollow chambers that have been hollowed out into the space and shape of melanin, which only allows certain hues of light to escape. That the rest are smothered, scattered, smothered, covered and chunked. It's a deep joke there. So, who can lie? Humans can lie. Apes can lie. Now, there's a lot of other creatures that have neuromelanin, but I'm going to discount them. I'm going to say they don't count. These are the animals that do have melanin. Humans, monkeys, horses, giraffes, cattle, sheep, goats, dogs, frogs, and tadpoles. And that two of these actually do not have any neuromelanin at all. And it's rabbits and it's mice. The rabbit is the purest of predator. Even a rabbit lacks the ability to lie. And I want you to picture that demons are not good because they can't lie. Demons are just stupid. That's all. Demons do not have... Okay, now I'm going to get fucking attacked by a bunch of demons because I just insulted them. But it's just true. And you know what? Fucking attack me. Okay. You know, I probably deserve it. Oh, it'll probably just make me stronger. In fact, you know what? It'll probably just make me stronger. I have the power. I am Skeletor. You know, it's all good. I have silver. It's okay. So these demons going to be much more of a vector technology. Pew, 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 pew. It's like an arrow, right? If you think about it, a demon is going to be like an arrow that the conscious agent releases it. But once it's released, the demon really doesn't have a choice. It's been aimed. This is why fuck you is a demon. Fuck you is a demon. You're spitting that out into a certain direction. You know, you're spitting that. And that's, so you're cursing, right? You're cursing because you're creating a vector and you're spitting it. And you cannot control if someone's in front of it or if someone's behind it. You can't control that. If someone rushes in front of it and goes, no, and blocks the fuck you, right? And it hits them in the face, you've just killed an innocent person with your curse. And I'll remind you that every time you tell someone to go fuck themselves, that you're really saying, hi, you've moved me so much with your existence that I would like for you to go home tonight. Find a nice quiet place. I'd like for you to put on some Sade. It must have been an angel by my side. Sade, right? Yeah. Put some Sade on. Have some Bacchus if you need it. Yeah, that's fine. And I want you to make love to yourself. Because that's how much you've just moved me. This is what hey, go fuck yourself means. The compression says a lot, doesn't it? More importantly, the decompression. You could now use this as like a dodgeball technique where you capture the hey, go fuck yourself and unwrap it like a candy, like I just said, and say, oh man, I'm gonna go rub one out right now. I'm gonna take what this person said. I'm gonna touch some other melanin. Yeah, you know, I think one of the beautiful things about your nipples, okay, there's a lot of beautiful things about your nipples. Let's just be honest. Nipples are the knobs of organic technology, as I'm sure you all have heard me say. But the pheomelanin, the middle melanin, this is the melanin of redheads, but it's also the melanin of genitals. And so if you consider that for you to place a veil over your face is to only show a certain amount of light, much like the peacock does with its feather. And so when you see someone naked, what you're really seeing is this pheomelanin for the very first time. It's sort of like the middle thermocline of the ocean of this person you're about to freaking do something with, right? So you tap into that pheomelanin by seeing they're hiding. They're showing you where they're hiding. And when you see someone that has a mole, they're showing you the constellations that historically they have hidden from their ion channels. There are certain ion channels that they've chosen to close off with so much certainty that they've grown a mole there, and that mole is really the constellation at the heart of who they are. It really is. That's the heart of who they are. Amanda, thank you so much. You've already, wonderful patron. I really appreciate it. Thanks for the super chat. Guys, help Amanda out. Why don't you donate Patreon? Because I could do this show a lot more. But it's so weird how the monetization happens. Well, we'll get to that. But seriously, thank you. That really makes my day. So, there's only certain animals that can do this. And additionally to that, I want you to consider that the rabbit itself is like probably the bravest of creatures, because the rabbit is the living albino. It's twitching. You're seeing the redness in its eyes because it lacks the melanin to hide. It truly is the most innocent of innocent because it's blinded by the light for so long, it just gives up. It literally says, I'm prey. I've prayed so hard, I am prey. I am the living embodiment of prey because I will no longer lie to myself about what is happening. And mice do the same. And one of the hugest, biggest clues that we lack so much understanding about how the body works is this. All of the lab animals that we've psychopathically tortured to bring us the chemicals that we use today have been practiced on, including the pharmaceuticals, on creatures that do not have a layer of neuromelanin, which changes the entire psychotropic, placebic, an anatomical, physiological, biochemical, and let's just throw in spiritual elements of every kind of medicine, because the principle of lies is missing from the very tests that we use to convey. It's profound how ignorant we are, which is why I think there's a little bit of honesty when we saw a blank insert coming out. I think that's honest. That's what I think. James, stop calling people that are evil honest. Demons are not honest. And I didn't say they're honest. I said they could not tell a lie because they lack the capacity for empathy. Meanwhile, in truther world, right? The Luciferians, who are evil because they have no empathy, spend all their time trying to empathize what would ridicule you the most, because lying to you is all they have time to do because of how much empathy they do not have. And when you start to do the math, you're like, I don't want you to go fuck yourself. I want you to not go fuck yourself. You are way off here, and you're spoiling the vine, because if you're upset about the world, man, we have a system in place. It's a government called fucking empathy. And if you come online, you're going to find that everyone else is already online kind of looking at you like you're a retard waiting, but you're over here going, there ought to be a law. We need to vote harder. Or it's just the deep state. Or Naomi Wolf's breaking it down, telling it like it is with Alex Jones now, because by God, there's no such thing as contagion or virus. And I'm just watching them just like, guys, you're fucking, yeah. What are you doing? I have to lie to myself sometimes just to look at some of you. Seriously. Some of you. I have to squirt fucking... I have a squid right here. And I have Squatchy the squid over here. He's actually taking a break because I've been using him a lot. I have to squirt him in my eyes just to read some of the shit you guys write. It's cray-cray. It's cray-cray to the ZZ. This word brought to you by James True Live. We introduced this word a month ago, and the vernacular has actually changed. The vibe of the world has actually risen by 0.07. So, if we go back to present, I've told you that fear is a kind of melanin, the third kind, and that these fuckers lie the most. These are the fuckers that are most like you. Now look, they're all smiling. These guys look like innocent. Hey man, I just need a ride, I'm just like, look, man, just give me a ride. I ran out of gas. I know I don't have a gas can. I know you don't know where my car is. I know I don't have one shoe, but just give me a ride, man. I just need a ride. You're kind of a, Maybe you're not such a nice person, if you don't give me a ride. I think you should just trust and verify. If you find one of these I don't say this word ever until today, odontocetes, yes, odontocetes, toothed whales are called odontocetes, right? Toothed whales are called odontocetes. I did not know that. So if anyone's thinking that I'm pretending like I know that, I didn't fucking know that. All right. But these are the fuckers that are just like you and me. I mean fuckers eloquently. Like I would love to participate in helping one of these guys go fuck himself. Like I bet he'd have a good time. So, seriously, look at him. They're cute, but they're liars. Don't listen to them. Do not listen to. Trust and verify. That's the way to go. Your posture. I've actually told you before, I don't think you should trust. I think that if you find yourself in a situation where you have to trust someone, you're just simply on a crutch. You're in a codependent kind of relationship. I think you can be married. I do. But actually, I don't think that it's fair for you to insist that you trust your partner trusts you, because all you're going to do is let each other down. But this is how you learn to stand alone. It's not going. He or she is not going to let you down because they're a bad person. He or she's going to let you down because they're fucking organic in their nature, and that they have heyoka inside them, and that they're going to sense that you need to not have a crutch. And they're going to say, I don't know if you even love me if you depend on me. How do I even know you really love me if I'm your crutch? And you start to redefine what marriage is, what love is. I want to know what love is, And I want you to show me let's talk about love. It's this beautiful essence. And I've said before, I think divorce is a beautiful thing. I think there's probably a lot of failures out there where the people don't get divorced. They rake their children through that stuff. They're like, I need a witness to drop off my kid at a gas station because I'm the mature one, And they're like, hey, judge, can I have permission to stop paying child support? And the judge is like, tell me your story. And you're like, what kind of babysitting world are we living in? You realize that if there's all these courts that are simply just helping people raise our children, then it's quite natural that we would live in a world that has a lot of people that want slavery. And maybe what's really stopping us from having a better world isn't that we need to end slavery, but that we just need to change our honest opinion and look at what slavery is. Maybe it's not so bad. Maybe the word parasite comes from nature. Maybe babies are parasites. Maybe. Look at the little parasite. Look at the little parasite sucking off the essence of mommy's booby, And that as we learn to love nature more, we can learn to understand that these prana economies are, there's nothing wrong with them. We're going to see whatever we want to see based on how we feel, right? And so it really does come down to that comfort level that we talk about all the time. I know we talk about all the time. But until you understand that, don't trust these guys, man. Don't trust them, because they lie just like you do, which means that they're living in the ocean right now telling each other stories. They have propaganda. I guarantee it. They have propaganda. They are giving each other propaganda all the time. And this is why you actually, I know this is funny, but this is actually true. I wrote about this in Blueprints of Mind Control, but dolphins are actually racist. There actually is, that's like a real verified thing. And I think that the fact that they're racist, and now that you know about neuromelanin and this idea about lying, then you start to see just how creative you and me use this neuromelanin to create a culture with us. And keep in mind that having the idea of racism is actually allowing you to bond with anyone else who doesn't like racism. So you and I would use that pufferfish, right, that the dolphin takes and starts to play with. The pufferfish is the racism. And so you and I would need that simply to find each other, because we'd be playing the game of, don't you put that pufferfish of racism on me. And then the other dolphin would be like, no, don't you put that pufferfish of racism on me. Meanwhile, the pufferfish is like, I'm a living creature. I'm not an icon for you guys to discuss. how much you love or hate black people, and I just fucking nailed what culture is. I mean, fuck, man. I'd like to give a shout out to all the pufferfish out there, human pufferfish. Appreciate you, man. Doing good. Helping dolphins lie to each other every day. Hope you guys are enjoying the show. It was a great time to frickin' hit subscribe. God, this is taking forever. Oh, if you're already subscribed, if you could click on the Substack link that's in the show notes. I wrote a new article today. It goes over these points much more quickly and eloquently. And you could go there and hit subscribe. I think it would really help. I just think it would help. I'm not saying that I'm a charity, but you would get to feel like you're helping a charity. So, fuck, man, it's going to help you, not me, right? So let's get back to the show, because this stuff is actually really important. So, but these tooth whales, man, you got to watch out for them. And chimps too, and you. All of us are in a very separate category in this world because we're allowed to lie to each other. Very important. Very important. Orca is probably the closest thing that we know to God as far as like an entity that's logged in. They're looking at like 12 octaves of listening. They have about 9 octaves of singing. Mariah Carey tops out about 5 octaves, and she's a fucking freak because most of us are just on 3 octaves, right? The megahertz range of these creatures, these toothed whales, among which is this guy. This is the Atlantic spotted dolphin. What I found fascinating about this is that you can see the melanin signature on this dolphin the exact same way that you and I recognize freckles or beauty marks or beauty moles, or more importantly, the shape of areolas. And it turns us on because we get to see where each other has said, I don't want to see the world here, but I do want to see the world out of this ion channel. And that's sexy. That's actually a way of showcasing yourself. And as we get past the binary of all of attraction and all of love purely has to be about creating a child, which if you look at what this gay movement is, it's really just the woman's movement, which is really just the man's movement, which is really just the sexual revolution movement, which is really just like the flower power movement, which is really just the Elvis shaking his pelvis movement, which is really just simply, can we just have fun without having to produce a child? Is that okay? Can we do that? And the reason why is because we deserve more. And when we deserve more, we need to start to bite off the chunks of stimulus that we get through sexual reproduction and just use those in our lives, which is why our art has grown so much more texturous, so much more sexy. It's why Hollywood is saturated with sex. It's why we show violence purely naked, and we show sex still we like to cover because we understand the intimacy of that mystery. It's crucial. As we get older, sadly, and you're seeing this with the porn industry, sex becomes less about hiding because the only way to show bravery would be to simply take more off. And so you'll see less freckles, you'll see less things, you'll see less hiding. And it ends up ruining itself over time, which is what we end up do, which is why we keep burning Hollywood. But it keeps saying, dude, the holly is literally a wood that's made to be burned. So all you're doing is helping. There really is no difference between exposing Hollywood and promoting Hollywood. The only difference is assumption. The entire purpose of that event, of that bush itself, of that chemical bush that includes the humans that are involved, is to expose itself, destroy itself, expose itself, destroy itself. On and on and on it goes. On and on and on it goes. Happy Friday, y'all. I be lying like a mofo, says the Atlantic spotted dolphin. And he's true. He's a fucking liar, man. He's a beautiful, beautiful fucking liar. I'm going to cuss today if you don't know that. This study, toothed whales have black neuron in their blue hole is the name of that. And that study... Can you see my link? Do you know what it's made of? I am looking for that link. I can't find that link. Sorry. Too bad for you. I guess all this money you pay for the free show is going to have to be refunded because I didn't put a link there. But, man, look it up. Look it up. Okay? Look it up. This is a great article, though. Simple summary. I want you to read something. The two-toothed whales that were examined, that's funny. The two-toothed whales that were examined, that's not what I put up this slide. The two-toothed whales that were examined presented melanin granules associated with lipid droplets and membranes that bore a striking resemblance with human neuromelanin. Its acclimation takes place over the entire lifespan, and here's the big part, and appears to contain the story of one's life exposure to several endogenous environmental metals and our compounds. And I want you to understand that melanin and our ability to lie are really tied together. This is the ink we use to create this thing, okay? Get free, please explain. DJ Emo, I will happy to explain. YouTube is a platform that does not reward me for bringing you to this realm. Everything that you're seeing here that I'm doing right now is 150% funded by individual listeners that have joined me on Patreon. That's why I'm calling this show free. If they would not be doing that, there is zero way I'd be here streaming to you right now. I don't actually need the witnesser attention because I've reached a certain plateau in my posture where I'm not like hungry for acceptance from others. This is where a lot of truthers are. So they end up having to find new ways to kind of titillate you with nipple clamps about hoaxes and other such things. And so that has its own economy because you're feeding the soul of that person that frankly has lack. I actually don't have lack, so I would end up losing my posture if I kept giving something to free without reminding you that it is fucking free, dude. You're getting this for fucking free. And I am no longer in the posture or the ability to lie about that anymore. The patrons that make it possible for me to do this have to physically donate to me every month. And I appreciate them so much that I tell you and I remind you that it's free. And I have to stop everything we're doing, all the progress I have, because you could not do this math yourself and you're asking others to help. And I'm happy to help. I'm happy to tell you. But that's what's happening. That's how this works. I've written 7 books. You can buy those too. That's a great way to help for sure. But I need you to know that the books I write, that takes a shitload of time. And that actually is not like a token where you can kind of buy a t-shirt, that the book is actually sadly a lot of work. And so if you're going to buy a book, it's only because the content of the book would be something else that you would not have to call free because you bought the book. See what I'm saying? So buying a book doesn't actually even really help the live stream. It actually helps me write more books. I'm a good fucking writer, man. But the culture where we are now requires that I step away from that pen and come to the live stream. And so I try and bring you this information. I try and tell you these things. But the way the economy works, my friend, is I have to do it this way. I think it's working great as long as I can remind you of that. And even more importantly, as long as you could maybe just kind of smell. Just put your nose and go, hey, this is kind of free. And if you go down and you join Patreon, you get the prana of knowing, man, I don't fucking do that for free. And let me take a moment. Some of you are not patrons right now, but maybe you were a month ago. Maybe you were 2 months ago. I am so fucking glad you're here. I do not expect a loyalty. I want you to feel as free as you want to do it. And I also want you to know that you yourself are pollinating me. You're pollinating me. How much you choose to give and how much you choose not to give is exactly how much you pollinate me. And then if you pollinate me more, I'm simply just feel better about devoting my time to producing this thing. That's all. It takes a lot of time. I've been sitting in this chair since 4 a.m. just for this show. Just for this show. And I find the research and the writing to be fascinating, but I also have to feed myself with certain experiences. Certain things I need to do. One of those experiences is I put things in this part of my Taurus and then I poop them out the bottom. It's like one of my favorite things to do. I think it's because I'm a Taurus. So being a Taurus, I'm going to do this Taurus thing. And in order to do that, I need your resources to do it. So hope this explains it. Is everybody cool? We can get back to it. So these guys lie, you lie, and we're going to talk about just how freaking creative it is. Just how kind of crucial it is, in fact, for what we're doing. Let's see. Here's your substantia nigra. And when you watch someone with Parkinson start to actually shudder, that really the neural pigment that they have, this neuromelanin that we're talking about, this is kind of an overcut of your spine, that those juices secrete. On the right, you're looking at someone with Parkinson's disease. You can see that he's really missing a lot of his ability to secrete. He's unable to absorb the intensity of the environment. You could call this, you could maybe say that he suffered atrophy in his ability to lie. You could maybe say that. You could maybe explain that someone with Parkinson's is just simply tired of the lies, and they just feel that they want truth. I think that right now it looks more like the first, kind of like an atrophy. But I think that atrophy comes out as an immune response to just how many lies we've had to keep absorbing. That the moment that we invented the dynamo that could be placed into the home, which is, around the turn of the 20th century, is the moment where people started to develop the motor. So the vortex motor was created and placed in the home, and the Spanish flu came out. Now, I'm not going to tell you that there's a gain of function here, because I think a gain of function is actually a property of contagion, but contagion is more of a chemo signal kind of a technology, but we'll talk about that later. But the idea of having a dynamo inside your home is creating a vortex that is, frankly, a giant metal field. And that these metal fields, it would make sense that we would have a harder and harder time, or we'd have a harder time adjusting to these metal fields when they're first introduced. So a copper vortex spinning inside of an electrified magnet would be a pretty intense kind of radiation, if you want to call it that word, for us to absorb, for us to be near. And it took a while for us to adjust. Now, you could just say it's poison. But keep in mind that if you're going to keep insisting that all these things are poison, like a lot of young people are insisting that the plastics that we eat are poison, they're just forgetting that the lead that we used to drink our water from was poison, or more importantly, the tin that we used to store all of our food in wasn't poison, or more importantly than that, even the bronze, if we were that rich, even the brass, all the other things that we had, still lacked a very, very kind of purity that ended up in us really having some complications, but that those complications would only be looked at as if poison if you are anti-medicine. But if you start to think about what I talked about in the beginning, this idea of the venom of the snake being imbued with the medicine you need, then it's really just going to be your perspective. Am I being tickled, or am I being tortured? You have the context and the ability to feel either way, if that makes sense, right? The either way of those things you could feel. So just keep that in mind. Radar shadow. In order to understand melanin, I want you to understand radar shadow. The highest forms of technology will put out a signal. This signal will not be able to see over certain shapes. And not only will it not be able to see what's right behind that shape, but literally every single possible thing that's behind that shape is inside of its shadow. Right? Every single thing. And this is an endless shadow. And that this endless shadow would be a lie. This is the manifestation of a lie in real time. And that if you believe my model of the universe, it's not a requirement, but if you believe my model of the universe, that we're living inside an Osiris model of yourself, then you could be able to understand that these lies are simply the terrain of you. That the terrain of you creates these mountain ranges, and that these mountain ranges give you these vistas that you can hide from yourself and see yourself. Because keep in mind, if you move your tower on top of that mountain, you would then be seeing things no one else could, despite how many lies they have, right? So it's very, very much a occulting of reality using the terrain of texture is something all of us know. All of us understand this because it's such a crucial part of who we are. So macular thinking has the same thing, that you have a brain shadow. And what is macular thinking? So the eyes can see in one of two ways. The eyes can see macularly and they can see peripherally. Macularly would be the obelisk. Imagine an obelisk coming out of the eye, and wherever the obelisk is pointed to, that's where the brain is writing or recording what is happening. And if you were looking at something close up, or if you're looking at something far away, that really would simply just be the amperage or the amount of limbic input you want that thing to have. You will purposely choose things, archetypes, and ideas that have a distance in their geography to utilize the safety that you feel, the same safety that every animal feels in nature, by utilizing distance as a form of digestion. Distance equals digestion. If you step back from the bear far enough, you can see it completely. You can see it without peeing your pants. You can see it without trembling. You can see without shuddering. You can see it without yelping and crying. But you need distance to process the amperage of that reality. And this is what the eyes do. We utilize this macular thinking, and that this macular thinking, simply by its own design, creates a brain shadow, and that you know that you have this brain shadow, and more importantly, you've used this brain shadow to hack your system. The threat is outside of you, and you can hide behind the witness cone of safety emanating from your cell phone. That when you record a threat, you are containing the threat inside a visual window, and the containment of that activates the ancient natural ability to absorb something through the realm of distance. Distance is a filter that protects you from the toxins, from the amperage of that signal. Right? Sorry I have to stop, but you're paying with your attention. It's actually not true anymore, Ziggurats. If you guys wanted to pay me for the show with your attention, I would have needed you to get up at 4 a.m. and think about James True all day. I don't want you to do that. It actually doesn't work that way. I used to think it works that way. But then I started counting the number of hours I put in versus the number of hours you as the free watcher put in, and it's not the same. It's not. So if you wanted to do that, I would accept it, but I would want you to be up at 4 a.m. thinking about what I was going to say. And I need you to be there the whole time. By the way, 4 a.m. is not a complaint. I just woke up 4 a.m. I wrote this piece. I went back to bed for a little bit. I got up. I edited that piece. It was great. And then I was like, I'm going to write a show about it. So, I'm going to stop the show again because I can't even get you guys to understand that you came to YouTube. It's literally fucking free and you're watching me and you're asking me to prove that this is free. This is fucking insane, but I'll do it. So if we want to exchange witness for witness, where the fuck were you at 4 a.m.? I could have used some coffee, could have used some encouragement. I didn't see you. This is 1,000% patron funded. It's all them. And if you're not on Patreon, you can even join as a free member. If you're not on that platform, you're not helping the show, and it's being given to you for free. This is not fucking rocket science, and rocket science isn't even real. That's why I'm profoundly amazed that you cannot absorb this concept. And if you can't absorb this concept, how are you going to fathom politics? How are you going to fathom anything I say? It's kind of crazy. And honestly, all it does is just depollinate the whole room because now we have to remind each other what worth is and what time is. It's weird, right? It's weird. By the way, patrons are doing great. Seriously. I'm cooking. I was able to go to Chicago. I would not have been able to do that if not. They gave me a lot of time. It's sad I'm not doing the show right now because there's a lot to talk about. But if I have to explain what free is, I will. But I've been putting like 2 solid months into this software package that I know you can't even see yet. And I don't like to show I don't like to tell without showing, so I try not to talk about it. But it really it's going to help us absorb what's going on, especially Monday school. We're going to be doing the immolation stuff, and that's like easily 120 hours of research placed into that, where sort of written a little biography of every single person that sets themselves on fire. I want to know why. And honestly, it's imbued this talk today about neuromelanin has been an important part of that. And so those of you who are like, oh, well, my witness is paying for the show. It's not, because for the last 2 months, your witness wasn't helping me shit. It wasn't helping me do anything. It wasn't. You know, if you want to just use your witness and use that as a commodity, I'm not going to be able to make it. I'm going to need more. That's all. That's all. And honestly, you know, as long as the patients are helping this, I don't even have to stop and bring it up. That's what's great. And it hurts me the most too, because I don't know if you noticed this, but I don't actually bring this stuff up a lot because I'm way into the research. Like, I really want to get back to this fucking slide. I really do. I really do. Let's try it. We'll see. We'll see. So the threat is the real thing that's outside of you. And that when you place yourself behind the cell phone, you enter into this witness cone of safety. And this witness cone of safety has a power fulcrum that actually works in a lot of different ways, only one of which is even explained on this slide. I just couldn't explain it any other way. This power fulcrum comes from the idea that you can contain the threat and again, place it into a psychological distance that you can absorb. That's a huge part. But there's something else too. The witness cone from a cellular phone makes you feel invisible. The witness cone from a cellular phone makes you feel invisible. Poof, you become invisible. You are not seen. You do not feel seen, which gives you the ultimate kind of protection. You become almost psychopathic in how powerful you are because you do not have to see. And this is the true essence of why you see people who are behind a cell phone express so much confidence, right? And they can literally be hit by a train. And if they're behind a cell phone, they're like, I can do this. I can do this. And this psychology is real because the neuromelanin is that effective. This is the oldest trick you have. Not only that, it is a natural muscle. Not only that, you've been using this natural muscle to climb through the mythology to understand this world. You used to think that if a stick looked like a horse, that if you touched it right, you would imbue the power of a strong back of the horse. And you slowly understood that to finally mean that when you hold a cane in your hand, your back does not fucking hurt, and it's a miracle. But you don't want miracles every day, so you've normalized it and call it chiropractic. And good for you. That's fine. Because there's so many miracles around here, it's really hard to keep track. It is really, really, really hard to keep track of these things. Thank you so much for these super chats, guys. I love you. Appreciate it. Thank you. So this is a power fulcrum behind this phone. It is a helmet of invisibility. I remind you all that Perseus, the reason why he was able to go and kill an innocent virgin of the temple of Athena, someone that you and I call Medusa, someone that is known as Medusa Gorgon, the actual family that lived at the temple, that you're looking at the sacrifice of a Marie Antoinette type figure, one that was revered, would only be good enough to be a sacrifice to cleanse the guilt and shame that everyone else feels as the metals are coming into your system and teaching you more, and you're fighting and fighting and fighting to find more melanin to lie your way out of the sun. And we climb deeper in our cave. We create more neurons to coat our track and send it all the way back to the occipital lobe just so we can have time to fucking make up a story for why this is happening. It's brilliant. Lying is a creative act. It is the most powerful muscle of a human. And you need to stop being ashamed of it, because once you learn to wield this power, you will stop shooting people innocently. Oh, there it is. You will stop shooting people innocently with this power. The smell of blame goes pew, pew, pew. That's a joke. The smell of blame goes pew, pew, pew. And it is a directional vector. And this directional vector is pointing to a specific person that can be used as a scapegoat. And sometimes the only kind of defense that you have is to simply say, what did I do? What did I do is a magical spell? What did I do is the shield that one uses to filter the truth as it comes in. And when the cop pulls over the perp who's driven through the CVS window in a meth-headed rage because he wants precursor and they won't sell him to him, and the cop throws his ass on the ground and he's got all this plate glass stuck into his face, the perp turns and says, "What did I do? What did I do?" And when the drunk is drug out of the bar for throwing up on the nice lady and he punches the bartender on his way out and tries to pee on the couple that just got married, he's asking, "What did I do? What did I do?" It is the most powerful form of neuromellification, and it is the reason why Bacchus is such a beautiful teacher, because the lessons that are learned through this asphyxiation really are learning to prime ourselves to function on the metal that we have inside of us and not rely on the oxygen to help us absorb the truth of what we're doing. So even alcohol is a muscle in which we are cutting off the supply of oxygen to see if we can handle what happens under less information. So it's a very, very, very powerful skill. The same skill has been set about in the entire population, and we call it the court system. And that the court system has this concept that you are innocent until proven guilty, precisely because culture itself needs a hiding place, or else it would just simply die. It would just simply die. And so we've created these things, and we've given ourselves natural shelter. This is no different than if you were to build a fish tank and you were to set under a strawberry pot and turn it upside down and let the fish swim into the strawberry pot to hide. The society knows what you need, and society has created the strawberry pot where you can hide, and all you have to do to hide is just not let anyone see you. That you've never done anything wrong in this world if no one sees you. You are 1000% innocent of everything that you've ever done wrong as long as no one sees you. This is the biggest cheat code we've ever known. Not only is it the biggest cheat code we've never known, it is the biggest clue about the true nature of what reality is. The Supreme Court in the UK, if you were standing above the Supreme Court looking straight down, is the eye in the pyramid. The shape itself is so obvious, it's amazing we don't talk about it more. But it goes beyond that, because the flower represented inside the eye is a forget-me-not. And the forget-me-not is exactly the connotation that you would need to alter the infinite trump card that melanin presents. That if it were not for our justice system, if it were not for the smart cities that I'm sorry are getting ready to form, what's happening is that people are recording what you do. That your browser history is going down and it's going to be written in salt, and there's nothing that the melanin that you have is going to be able to do to erase it. And that we were not able to do this earlier because we did not have the psychic muscle to bear such a burden, to know that everything that happened to us would be remembered. This is literally why we were born as giants. That the giants, as you know, the Cyclops lack the ability to see lies, which is why Odysseus was able to simply get away simply by telling him a story. The most powerful giant that made the finest metals, that had the finest talents that could ever be forged, lacked the ability to discern lies because he purposely did not have melanin, because the necessity for him to go through required that he couldn't even remember it all. And so we forget the giants. And the giants had to die because there's no way that we could work with the kind of memories that were required for us to make it over that hump. And as society builds itself, so too does our breeding ground for neuromelanin. And if we do well enough, if we sprout enough wings, we will require a pumice of the wisdom tree, a world court, as it were, but a world court that's doing nothing but thoughtfully recording everything you do and everything you say. The Talmud is the first dedication to this act. And a lot of you think the This is a written record, but it's an oral record that was finally written down. And that before it was written down, because it was an oral record, it still allowed people to act badly. And we needed that ability to act poorly because, honestly, we were crawling ourselves out of the cave. We were coming from the darkest places where we burn our own children or burn our neighbors for knowing too much and literally suffer through a kind of unconscious feral state in which we just simply cannot even discern anything other than survival. And the concept of sanctity would simply be seen as a psychopathic self-annihilation that we would stamp out when it tries to pop itself up into our village. And that's what's happening now. There are people in the world that are saying, I do not need to be a breeder because there is a lot of people. And there's an orthodoxy that is so terrified of the idea that they could come here and not be a breeder, that frankly, the amount of things of self-worth that they realized they did not have, where they simply skipped over a decision. I didn't say make a decision. I said skipped over a decision to try and live in their selfness for a while and become a full actualized self without needing the idea of being a dependent, or that someone else was requiring that they fulfill a certain conscious state and that they hold a certain posture and wear a certain bit of clothes and pay a certain amount of tax and provide a certain amount of dental care, that is a kind of slavery that we choose, and that we would choose that for a lot of different reasons. One of them would be, I do not have a strong enough identity. I believe that the vitriol of having children is probably the bravest thing that you could encounter. And I truly mean that. I also think that the principle of telling yourself that if you could just convince someone to marry you, that you would be a good person, is just the opposite side of that. And both of these things are showing you just the power of the neuromelanin to manipulate the mind to put themselves in a place that we think would be the most profitable for our survival. A lot of uncomfortable things here. I hope you're okay with it. I hope you're having a good time. I'm going to say them anyway because I got patrons. But still, doesn't hurt to acknowledge that some of you might be having a hard time with this. False flags are probably the biggest form of lies, of course, that really showcase, I think, the powerful dynamic of what's happening. But one of the things that we don't really understand is that these are techniques that you use. The reason why you're upset when you see false flags is not because the government's doing false flags. It's because you do false flags on yourself. And frankly, you're watching how everyone else is being affected by the false flag, and you're learning how much propaganda you fuel for yourself, that you set off these alarms that aren't really there a lot of times. And a lot of times those are just distractions for other responsibilities that you want to avoid. It's true. And if you're not ready to see it, that's fine. It's okay. You don't have to see it. There's nothing about this world that's broken. So even if you're not ready to see these things, even if you're trying to type in some fancy fancy Far Eastern word like woo-wee to explain why you have apathy and use that as some kind of justification, man, fine, go for it. I do not need you to feel that it's your duty to pollinate the world. If you want to feel that your duty is to not participate, I'm fine with that. I think a lot of nature has a lot of plant matter in it that just doesn't participate. I'm cool with that. It takes every kind, right? So for me to truly honor myself, I wouldn't need a majority around me to justify, or I wouldn't need a partner or some sort of dependent to even tell me who and what I am. It's actually harder this way for me. The vitriol I find, I think, by taking the path I have is really just carved specifically for me because I'm my own species. This is something I've been trying to teach more and more for us to think about it that way, that if you don't want to be your own species, that's fine. Just be a Homo sapien sapien. That's fine. You can just do that. But if you're ready to become your own species, you're going to need some kind of hermetic ladder to climb. And that hermetic ladder has been climbed by other people. And the quadrivium and the trivium are simply you just understanding your cerebellum, awakening these ancient memories, and tapping into the true creative power that you have, which is to lie. The placebo and the lie come from the same place in the brain, and they come from the same place in the brain because every single thing that you would want to do to actualize yourself is going to come from a lie that you told yourself in the beginning. You petrify these lies as you grow, or you chop them down as you deteriorate. And that the only difference between what is a lie and what is real is that you held it long enough until it entered into phase. It congruentized, it left enough of a mark to where you can see it there and everyone can agree. That's really all truth is a lie that's petrified over time. And then if you look at Kronos and wonder what Saturn is, it's the oldest lie ever told. What is that light in the sky that moves when the rest do not? What do I call that? What is it? And simply by lying about something you didn't know about, you're creating that shape. And that the rings that you see on Saturn are the limitations of the lies as you have them. And so the sky itself is simply a canvas for us to prove that we melanate, which is why a lot of modern science and a lot of astrophysicists have actually explained that melanin and dark matter seem to be the same thing. I am shocked that you guys, some of you are like, this is a free show and all I have to do is watch you, because the amount of fucking reading I had just to fucking tell you the last paragraph, I would say it could fill a book, but no, it could fill like 16 books because there were 16 books. And I love fucking reading, but it takes time. And if I want to read, I need resources to do that because it takes time. And I actually have to eat meat sometimes because I read so much. I literally have to, sometimes I'm like, I have to have red meat because I can't handle it because I read something. I feel like Pi right now. I was like, you dumbass, don't you understand? No, I don't understand Pi. I'm just telling you that if I eat red meat, if I've been studying too hard or researching too hard, that if I eat red meat, I can fucking keep going. That's what I'm trying to say. I'm all over the place. Hope you guys are having a good time. Greece from Croatia. Hey, there's Mo. Mo's in Croatia. Hello, Mo. So, how to sleep in a foxhole. Am I being insulting? Let me know in the comments. How to sleep in a foxhole. How would you sleep in a foxhole? If you read the article, it's actually a lot better said in the article. But if you think about what lies do is, how do you sleep in a foxhole? If you're living in a nature where you're surrounded by wildlings and how do you sleep at night? How do you sleep comfortably? And to sleep comfortably is to wake up with more power. To sleep uncomfortably is to wake up with less power. So sleeping comfortably is far more important than we think. It's the way that you tap into your fuel source, and the amount of fuel you're able to drink is directly proportional to how much you're going to be able to survive. So this becomes important. So how do you sleep in a foxhole? Well, you're going to have to lie to yourself. You're going to have to lie to yourself to do it. And this is why you're forced to drink. God has forced you and all those toothed whale motherfuckers you can't trust to drink. He's forced you to drink from your own lies in order to survive. It's kind of like making you drink your own pee in the desert. He's saying, dude, I need you to drink the black ink in your spine to survive. And you do. And you do. You're so right, Arian. That's really well said. Arian Senshu. Arian Senshu. Really well said. You're absolutely right. Okay. Oh wait, James, you should admit you do this because you like to. It feeds your spirit. If it's money, I'm disappointed in you. Oh, well, money is a metal, and I do need that spirit. The time I was 15, I was like, while everyone else was like, here's money for college or here's money for a car. I was selling shoes. I had a car that someone felt sorry for me, and they gave me their car. It was $60, and it was a Chevy Cavalier station wagon. And because it was the first car that had a computer on the Chevrolet, it kept telling itself that it was overheating. And the only way that you could drive the car is if you never, ever, ever let the car come to a complete stop. At the moment it came to a complete stop, the car would stall, and you'd be forced just stuck there for like 25 minutes. If you got out and fanned the computer fan to lower its thermostat down, not actually the car's. And so I actually did notice at a very young age that I actually do not have the currency resources that if I would have had, I could have gone a lot farther. I was pre-law, mock trial, governor's board, stunning GPA. I had one of the highest ASVAB scores in my school. I wanted to go to William & Mary, a very expensive, prestigious law school. I was not able to do that because I had to sell fucking shoes. And I wasn't able to sell enough shoes because I was going through moral dilemmas about why am I trying to oversell this person's shoes? Like I had that kind of shit. It was very distracting. I wasn't actually able to go to the school that I wanted to go to or go to the events I wanted to. I decided I'm going to join the Navy because that's going to help me pay for college because I have to sell fucking shoes just to even keep this car running. So when I joined the Navy, I did that for the GI Bill, but then the fucking Gulf War broke out. Then James has to wake up. So I start to wake up to reality. And I took that GI Bill and I made it as far as I could, and I tried to come back to school. But from the moment I was 15, I've actually found out that I actually need money. Not only do I need money, it's because I deserve money, because if I have money, I always spend it well. I always spend it well. I have a house now that I've sunk every dime into. I have 0 car payments. I've never had a car payment. I use every dime as effectively as I can. And I know that when I want to write a book, I have to cut off months of research, travel where if I could go there, I would learn so much more because I do not have the money. And now this is the 3rd fucking conversation on a free fucking live stream where I'm having to explain to you guys the fucking principle of survival. The principle of resources, the principle of gasoline placed in a car, allowing me to go to a library to read a certain book. And that book has a secret rating where there's a dude with a gun who's staring at me in a chair while I read it. And the only reason why I could even go there is if I had enough cash to do it. And that this entire limitation of my gnosis in this world has 100% been brought to me by a lack of resources. And that at no point in time have I ever let that be the excuse to stop me from drinking what I could. And it only shows how much further I would go if I had more resources to do it. This is fucking absurd that we're having this conversation right now, where I'm having to convince you guys that someone who needs money, we should be disappointed in them because for some reason they can't fart in their own mouth and amalgamate the goddamn gas and pay their mortgage. Stop being a fucking retard, whoever said that. I'm going to purposely not look at your name because I don't want to know. I do not want to melanate who the fuck just said that. Man, you guys are really, really pushing it today. I know you do, Raina. It's the only reason why I'm talking. So we create these brain shadows. We create these brain shadows and we're very effective at it. It kind of looks like this. It kind of looks like this. You know this horrible thing is happening. And it's so terrifying that you have to create other images. And that these other images are used to distract you from the very first thing that's terrifying. And so you have to paint these other images that you place in front with the most vibrant colors that you can to save yourself from this deeper thing. This is how the mind works. We have a scarecrow in our nomenclature. We have a scarecrow in our archetypal library that we have precisely for this reason. I want you to picture it like this. This is scary. We could call it that. But it's also behind a window. Not only is it behind a window, but we can see it. And when we take these characters and we place them on a stick and we fill them with straw and we place them in the field, we know exactly where they are. And when you know where your predator lies, you feel safe. You will drink at the river the moment you can see the lion. You will not run the moment you can see the lion. The moment you see the lion, you relax completely. You know where the threat is. You know where it lies. And it's precisely knowing where that threat is that gives you a dopamine bump. You come to the thalamus and the thalamus rewards you with money, with currency. It rewards you with literal currency. And that currency is called dopamine. It's a poker chip that our system uses. Now, these clowns that we create are the false flag operations in our own brain. It sucks that I've had to spend so much of this show talking about this. Hey guys, I don't know if you know this, but I'm charged $150 a month to have water here where I live because it's combined with the trash, and like they're trying to upgrade the water, and they're saying if I don't pay that, they're actually going to start to foreclose on my house. And I'm happy to pay it. It's just, I got to fucking pay $5 a day if I want water and garbage service here. Oh, and by the way, I'm so sorry. This shirt is 4 years old. I bought it in a 4-pack. It smells like shit, but I know you guys can't smell the shirt. But I'm actually trying to save on other things. So I haven't bought this is laundry detergent like a fucking months because I don't fucking need it. I don't want it. I don't even know if I should have that stuff on me. So got all these weird wardrobe things, and I've been working all this other stuff. And guys, I just had the first visitor I've had in my house for years, and forgive me, but I spent some money. I bought a watermelon. I bought more fruit than I usually did. Put a lot of money into kind of cleaning the house. Sorry, but I rented a dumpster last month. It actually cost me $900 because the town is actually not picking up my garbage, but mentally the clutter that I have in my life has just gotten too much. And I knew that if I could spiritually cleanse that way, the only way I could do it is actually by renting a dumpster. You could be, well, why don't you just try the dump? And it's because the dump is like an hour. See, we can just do this. I could just make this the fucking show where I justify why the fuck I'm the only person in the goddamn world that needs money. But the dump is an hour and 15 minutes away. That's one trip. And in order for me to empty all that stuff out, it's going to be at least 8 trips. And the dump's only open to free residents between the hours of 8 and 11 a.m. in the morning on Saturdays, which means I'd have to stick a harpoon in my fucking side on Tuesday to prove to you how spiritually amazing I fucking am because I don't have to rent a dumpster. Meanwhile, I utilize the power of my magic. I turn your views into a goddamn dumpster that's delivered to my house where I can throw my garbage in it over the deck and I feel powerful as shit. And I take all that power and I put it into research and I make a show. It's called Alchemy. Look the fuck into it. So we create these kinds of clowns precisely because they can be framed just the same way that a cell phone can see a threat and place it smaller, and you end up having what you know is so much less scary than what you don't. And the reason why I know this is true, we'll get to this, is there's never been a horror movie about a family who lost a child to bone cancer. It's never happened. You're not going to take your favorite date to the movies and you're going to be like, hey man, let's watch this. There's this movie. It's about this kid's got bone cancer. And the family's like, oh God, this hurts. Oh, it hurts. And the kid's like, oh, I can't stop hurting. And the parents feel helpless because they can't stop the pain and the horror of all that. And they're actually like going, God, should we like put our child out of his misery? And it's just the most horrible thing you could ever fucking possibly imagine. And you don't go to a theater to see that. You don't. You look at Scarecrows. That's what you see. And so you create your own false flags to steer yourself away from things that you fear more. And as above, so below, as the Assyrian model, as the oracle mythology tells you, it's screaming this truth to you, that when what you're watching the government do, you're watching what your own body does. That the same manipulations that the government does to move the people are the exact same manipulations that you were utilizing in your neuromelanin structures to lie to yourself. And you lie to yourself to get up in the morning. And more importantly, you lie to yourself to not. And the reason why they're black ops is also the reason why they work. They wouldn't work if you didn't work this way. Which is why when you start to unwrap what the CIA is, it's the only mirror that you've ever known that's showing you yourself. And the only reason why you can see yourself is quite frankly because you've drank enough metal. You've inoculated yourself. You've subcutaneously injected yourself with enough metal to where you've learned your lesson. The first lesson of metal is the sword. The second lesson of metal is the arrow. The third lesson of metal is the bullet. The fourth lesson of metal is the needle. You have the archetype of the werewolf. You have the archetype of it being cleansed by silver. Why the fuck are we suggesting I shouldn't have money for this? This is fucking high. And I wish that I could show you that it's proof the world is broken. But no, it proves that the world is right. It proves that the world is right because we end up infecting the very deepest nature of who we want to be with this kind of poison of like, well, why can't you do it for free? Do you know what Facebook is? It's fucking free. Do you know what Fox News is? It's fucking free. James True is not free. What do you want? Do you want Facebook? Do you want Fox News? Fucking fine. I don't even care. I'm no longer convinced that I need to save you. I kind of enjoy watching you burn because you act like such a fucking retard. Everyone's evil but me. There's this concept called rational thought, but only I have it, but no one else does. There's only one unit answer, even though there are 16 trillion notes, 12 octaves, 18 trillion hertz of frequency, 17,000 layers of salt water, and 160 elements inside of 20 amino acids, actually inside of 50 amino acids, of which 20 of which we've only learned how to render. But let's fucking do it for free because that means it must be true because Facebook is free and they're fucking true. God, you guys are so fucking retarded listening to that. Seriously. Ugh, grosso. Okay. A brilliant lie creates its own light. But James, it's false light. James, it's false light. James, no, it's not. It's not. You can shape a whole country with a lie. Don't tell me that's not real. That is real. That is realer than it gets. That is realer than it gets. The lies that you tell yourself create a placebic bubble. That placebic bubble is charisma. That charisma ends up amalgamating, like petrifying into your skin, and we call that, oh, you're hot. That's what being hot means. It means that they believed in themselves when you weren't. When you were at the bottom of the shithole convincing yourself that everyone needs to stick their tongue up this butt and do it for free, you became ugly. And you amalgamated that ugly and it stuck to you. And that the people that kept thinking that they were worth more kept thinking that, hey, maybe we should all get paid. And that the more they got paid, the less they felt angst. And the less they felt angst, the more they lived in their ventral system, this frontal system. And this is where the face is. And the more they associated in the face, the more they digested the food. And the more they digested the food, the less they inflamed. And the less they inflamed, the less that they pooped out valuable nutrients that they could have absorbed. And the more nutrients that they absorbed, the more ascorbic acid remained in their face. And epigenetically, their children were born with an appetite to be beautiful, and that this appetite was a requirement for them to even survive. And so you end up with beautiful people simply because they had enough self-worth. And that self-worth is the very berry of consciousness. And even if we were run by an elite family of pedophiles that were breeding us, they would still want the finest tasting consciousness, which means they would want you to be fucking lit because it would make your berry taste that much more juicy. So all these rumors about how it has to work and everyone has to do it for free is just communistic masturbation, and I'm really fucking sick of it. You sound like a retard. You sound like an emotional retard when you're telling me how spiritually superior you are because you steal from other people and you're convincing us all that you've actually been living for free. You're not living for free. You were living off the backs of everyone else. And you're a parasite and I accept you. But shut the fuck up. Just shut up. There's a lot more to do here than play this game. A brilliant lie creates its own light because it's its own light. You understand that the gut lumen is a material that is made to allow light to pour through. And that the intestinal wall that you would think would be the darkest place in the world actually has light in it. That the bone diodes around your rib cage create a cathedral. It's not a cage. It's a rib cathedral, but we call it cage because there's fucktards that are like, we do it for free. We do it for free. But that this rib cathedral emits light as you digest food. And as the food comes pouring into you, the compression of the bone diode actually emits light that you can see. And that as the stomach is constantly grinding, Eric, in the enteric system, we'll call him Eric, that he's constantly creating his own path through the world. and that he's listening with his ear, but his ear is the digestive tract. And it takes 3 days to absorb asparagus because the sound of asparagus is that complex. And it needs an ear that has that much patience to hear the same note until it is over. This is the sound of asparagus. This is the sound of sugar. This is the sound of broccoli. This is the sound of eggplant, right? So we're drinking the light of music from this food. It comes into our gut lumen, but only if our ventral system is open. This is why when you find a bird that's afraid and you give it food, although birds do not have an enteric system like this, so we ignore everything I'm saying. But the last thing I think that a bird wants to do is eat, because the art of digestion requires that you be comfortable. If you are not comfortable and you are putting food down you, that is not actually called digestion. That's just called passing food, right? Put apple in Taurus come out the other end. Me pass apple, right? Versus, oh my God, this apple's good. What does good mean? Good means I'm eating properly. Good means my ventral's open and I'm eating. That's what it means. That's what it means. So the lie itself is the light. And if you want to call it false light, guess what? All you're doing is just admitting that it's a lie. So imbue it. You lie where your placebo is, which means your immune system is a lie. Florence Nightingale didn't get sick because her ego was that strong. And people will say, well, this means that contagion isn't real because nurses don't get sick. But actually, that doesn't mean that way. Propaganda proves contagion exists. So the people that are telling you contagion doesn't exist are just lying to you, which is hilarious because that's sort of the theme of the show, which is why I think it's cute as hell. I actually don't mind people lying to you. I mind people not catching the lies. That's the part that I'm trying to pollinate. I'm not here to eliminate liars. I'm here to eliminate the people that refuse to listen to them. I'm here to eliminate the people that insist that this world, that we have to keep pretending that no one lies. You're the one that has brought us Donald Trump and Joe Biden. You're the one. You're insisting, no one ever lies. That's why we're still listening to these stupid stories about we're going to enter a rectal linear orbit and the proto shell of the tip is going to touch the module, the space nodule. It's going to rub up against the space nodule. There's going to be 2 gonad receptors for the space nodule, and the rectal linear orbit's going to get us to the moon. You're the reason why we have that. When we start to accept the lies, we can understand that NASA is actually giving you the biggest clue. The biggest clue. And then all these things are imbuing you with more information. I don't know how we can keep arguing that COVID put people to sleep. And in fact, no one even tries that. Everyone's like, I can't believe what's happening. I can't believe what's happening. I can't believe what I just saw. So is COVID evil? Depends on what you call it. It's evil if you think that you can't handle the fact that you lie. If you can't handle the fact that you have your own clown in your cockpit, how in the world are you going to accept the government does? The answer is you're not. And you know what's even funnier? If you cannot accept the fact that you lie, you're just going to lie to yourself. You're just going to lie to yourself about it. It's going to be like, yeah, I don't accept that the world's full of lies. And that's like a brilliant lie. And you're doing it in the very sentence, which is creative as fuck. Way to go. It's just hilarious. Truly. I'm sorry for all the cuss words. I really, there's no need for that. I'm fine getting ranty or whatever. But it'd be cool if I didn't cuss all the time. It'd be cool. That'd be neat. All right, guys. It's time for our quiz. Actually, there's one more type of false canister. The reason why we have this idea of everyone's a racist or a pedophile is the same technology as this witness shadow, as this brain shadow. That as we hide behind this witness cone of safety, we also do that with righteousness. And so we can end up actually exercising poor righteousness by placing the scarecrow that we believe in righteousness in its place. And 3 examples of this that you'll see a lot every day is there ought to be a law. And that the idea of there ought to be a law is actually how one would hide. It would allow a voter to hide from their own responsibility, right? So there ought to be a law is actually someone who doesn't really believe in themselves. Think of the children would allow a bad parent, here I should do it this way. Think of the children would allow a bad parent to feel better about their own failings. That would be the first thing that you would say if you were a bad parent. And you're utilizing the same fulcrum that we talked about today, a fulcrum that no one's shown you before. Not because it hasn't been discovered, but because no one's actually said, hey, this is important enough to cover. And I am. Which is why I feel so confident that I should be paid, by the way. I'll stop now. It's enough about that. Someone should do something would be the third form of this. And someone should do something would enable the very warrior himself to just sit on the couch. Because he's exercised that lie and he's resigned himself to it. When I was on Twitter first waking up, I believed that John Podesta did every single thing people said. And I started to notice, well, wait a minute, if I really lived in a world where this was happening and I believed this, wouldn't it be immoral for me not just to go get John Podesta? And I started to apply this to everyone else. I started to say, why aren't we just going to get John Podesta? And the answer is because we lie. Because we're lying. That's the answer. We're lying. That we will put this scarecrow right outside our window and we can point to him and say, there is a fucking evil. And it has all the advantages that we've already covered. You can sleep in a foxhole. You can release your own false flags against your own internal education. You can hide behind the idea that you must be innocent. You can consider the entire blame be placed on them and hide behind this witness cone of safety and experience the power that you feel behind the fulcrum of its containment. So these things are profitable. Quiz time. Quiz time. What is the name of the German false target device deployed during World War II? What is the name of the German false target device deployed during World War II? If you enter the answer inside my Shopify store, you will get a book with a really big discount. I say really big because it depends on who's first. The first person who enters the correct word as the coupon code inside Shopify gets a free book. All I'm asking is that you pay for the shipping. That's it. But I will give you a signed book, and all you got to do is enter the answer in the coupon code. I hope you find that fun. If you enter that answer and it only gives you like a 50% discount, it's because you didn't win, except for one thing. Right now, if any of you were to enter that, I would not know which one was first, and so I'm going to one of you is going to get your money back, and that's going to be the first person to win. So, if you want a discount, because someone asked the other day why I don't have a discount on my books, and it's just because I've just been busy. Yeah, it's like, I said I wasn't going to do that. Anyway, it's so this is a multi-tiered thing. So you could do that, and you could. I am not signed in OBS, so I cannot put a link in. I'm really sorry about that. That's why I couldn't put the link in earlier to that PubMed article. But yeah, you should see that though under my YouTube thing there. You can go to my store. If you enter that word, then you win a prize. You win a prize. And I encourage you to go back to the Substack and read my article because it more eloquently says this, and I never once bitch about retards asking why I'm not doing something for free. I'm not doing that. So there you go. There's another free way to absorb my stuff. And in that free way, I don't even remind you that it's free. So there you go. Patrons, thank you again so much for making this show possible. Thank you for allowing me to go to Astronosis. That was a trip all the way to Chicago. Guys, I want you to know something. Last year, I went to Chicago for Astronosis, and I donated my speaker fees to join the Theosophical Society of America because I just think that it's really important that we have the kinds of discussions that they hosted last year. And that this year, because I was invited back and because the patrons helped me, I took the money from my speaker's fee this year, and I donated it directly to Astronosis, namely Miguel, and his efforts, so that he could do Astronosis again next year. I'm not saying that I'm the one that's producing next year. I'm just saying that because the patron support is so solid, I also am a patron because of that. And that we are collectively, you being my patron is in fact being a patron to Miguel too, because not only do I personally give money to Miguel every month because I like what he does, but the speaker fees that he would have had to pay me have instead gone back into his purse so he can promote another event. This year was just off the chain amazing. He brought in some people from, one of which, David Block, who really moved me, did a great presentation as a Luciferian. He came from Scotland. It was really I'm sorry, I don't think it was Scotland. I think it was Sweden. Forgive me. Really, really great presentation. That's just one of many, though. The caliber of people he brought, it was just truly, truly an honor for me to go. It was part of why I felt so good about being able to just take that money for my travels and just put it back into there. Plus I got to see some wonderful people. Thank you everyone who made it. That was really fun. This is the first year where we actually sort of had like the party on Saturday night, which was just a lot of fun, a really good time. Beautiful library, wonderful event. Hope to do it again, even if I'm not invited as a speaker, like, whatever that context is. I really hope they do well. And shout out to him and shout out to the patrons who helped me do that. I hope you agree with that expenditure, but like I said, I do appreciate every cent you give me, and I think it's important that we pollinate others, which is part of why I did that too. So thanks for being here. We'd love your comments on the things we talked about. If you're looking for this in a more concise way, I just encourage you to read the Substack article. It's going to have everything that you would want to read, and it's only, I think it says it's like a 5-minute read, so it should be pretty easy to see there. In fact, I'm going to see if I can get this in the chat. If I go over to YouTube, this will be the last thing I paste, then we'll sign off. Appreciate you guys being here. I know I already said that, but I really do. I know I yelled. I do mean everything I said, but I know that some of you guys are just choir and you're just like, why is he yelling at me? But this is what happens. So there you go. Raina, good to see you. Kiss that little piggy for me. And yeah, wise stuff in the chat. I wish I could see more, but I had to move away because I didn't want to remember the guy's name who, after the 3 other conversations we had about free, is still coming back to that. So that's what happens. Mo, thank you much. Good to see you. You nailed it like Romans did with Jesus. Mo says you nailed it like the Romans did with Jesus. That's fabulous. And the 666 is great. If you guys don't know, I've started a new church, the Church of Latter-day Luciferians. We've got cool things going on. Check the calendar, the picnic calendar. We've got some deviled egg recipes in this week's primer. And we hope you have a good time. Thanks for being here. We'll see you next time. Lies out.